Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're exploring a really interesting set of lessons called Keys to Growth, Doing Hard Things.
Yeah, it's all about getting outside that comfort zone.
Exactly. And, figuring out why that's so important for growth, but also, maybe more crucially, how we actually handle the tough stuff that comes with it.
Right. We sort of pulled together the core ideas here, aiming to give you the most useful takeaways, like a shortcut to understanding this stuff.
Think of us as guides, kind of synthesizing it all for you.
Precisely. The material gives us a nice path, starting with why growth happens where it does, then moving into the inner tools, and finally those long-term habits for real strength.
Less like a checklist, more like a mindset for when things get difficult.
You got it. It's about how you approach the hard things.
Okay, so let's start there. Part 1. Why does growth seem to begin right where comfort ends? What's the first big idea?
Well, the first lesson really tackles that feeling of discomfort itself. We naturally want to avoid it.
Of course. Feels bad.
But the argument here is that growth, real growth, happens just outside that familiar comfy space. Discomfort isn't weakness. It's actually reframed as a signal.
A signal, like an alarm.
Sort of, yeah. A signal that you're pushing your limits.
Yeah.
The source uses that cozy room analogy inside. It's safe, maybe, but stagnant.
Right, nothing changes in the cozy room. Stepping outside into the cold, that's tough.
But that's where you adapt. It quotes Steve Magness saying something like, discomfort is the signal. You're on the edge of your abilities, and that's where growth happens. It's that stretch.
Makes sense. And there's a Brian Tracy quote, too. Comfort is the enemy of achievement. It's seductive, isn't it? Comfort.
Totally. It feels good, but it rarely leads to, significant progress.
Okay, so discomfort is a signal.
Mhm.
But the next lesson clarifies something important, right? It's not about just suffering.
Exactly. This isn't about toxic hustle or pain for pain's sake. It's about intentional challenge. Choosing the hard thing for a reason.
Like the runner example. Training in the rain.
Precisely. They choose that discomfort because it serves a purpose getting ready for the race. Or the blacksmith analogy.
Forging metal.
Yeah, the heat isn't random, it's deliberate. It shapes and strengthens the metal. You're the metal, the challenge is the forge.
But it has to be intentional. Steve Magness again, right?
Yeah.
Knowing when to push and when to back off.
Crucial point. Strength isn't just pushing, it's knowing when and how. The hard thing needs a purpose related to your growth.
Which flows right into the next lesson. Actually listening to your body and mind. Because there's a line, isn't there?
A very fine line. Between productive challenge and harmful overload, pushing too hard, too relentlessly, that leads to breakdown, not breakthrough.
So awareness is key. Paying attention to those signals, physical and mental.
That awareness is strength.
Yeah.
The source argues mental toughness isn't about ignoring pain. It's about responding to it wisely.
Like that story about the friend training for a triathlon.
Oh yeah, they thought grinding every single day was the answer. Confused constant effort with smart training.
And got injured.
Exactly. Learn the hard way that discipline has to include recovery, listening.
So the question for you, the listener, becomes, is this pain I'm feeling constructive? Is it helping me grow, or is it just breaking me down? Requires real honesty.
Deep listening, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, while you're navigating this, it's easy to get fixated on the results. Which brings us to the next idea.
Process over outcome. This one hits home, I think. We're so conditioned for quick wins.
We really are. The promotion, the finish line, whatever it is, but focusing only on that endpoint. The source says it's a trap.
Why a trap? Seems logical to focus on the goal.
Because it makes you impatient. You start looking for shortcuts. And when it gets tough, and the result isn't immediate, you're way more likely to just quit.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So what's the alternative?
Fall in love with the process, the journey itself. Like planting a tree, you don't dig it up constantly to check the roots.
No, you water it, trust the process.
Right. You trust that growth is happening, even when you can't see it. Magness says, focus on the process, not just the outcome. Because the process is where the learning happens, where you actually build capacity.
So success isn't one big moment, it's the daily stuff, the small acts of showing up.
Exactly, those quiet moments of courage. So just to quickly recap this first part, see discomfort as a signal. Choose challenges intentionally, listen to your body and mind, and crucially, focus on the process.
Makes sense. So that covers the sort of external landscape, recognizing challenges, choosing them. But what about the inside? What internal tools do we need when things get tough?
Right, because doing hard things takes inner resources too. Heart, resilience.
And the first tool mentioned might surprise some people, self-compassion.
Yeah, this one can feel backwards. We often think being hard on ourselves is the way, tough love.
Kindness equals weakness. Sometimes that's the message.
But the source argues, pretty compellingly, that self-compassion is actually fuel. It's about treating yourself like you'd treat a good friend who's struggling, with understanding, patience.
Like those two athletes after a failure, one beats themselves up.
I'm useless, I always fail.
Yeah, that one.
And the other.
More like, okay, that was rough. What can I learn? How can I adjust? Who do you think gets back up faster and learns more?
The second one, definitely. The self-critical one probably just spirals.
Exactly. Studies apparently back this up. And Tony Robbins is quoted saying something similar: you get stronger by believing in yourself, especially when it's hard. Self-compassion helps you maintain that belief.
Okay, so self-compassion is fuel. What's next? Something about not going it alone.
Yes, the importance of a support system. Nobody climbs Everest solo, right? You need a team, Sherpas, ropes.
Life's challenges are kind of the same. Trying to handle everything alone just makes it heavier.
It's so much heavier. Finding your people, the ones who listen without judgment, who just offer support, that's presented as a vital tool. It's external, yes, but it builds inner strength.
And there's science behind it.
Strong support lowers stress, boosts motivation, increases resilience. Connection is like a basic human need. It helps us endure.
I love that story of the marathon runner hitting the wall.
And the stranger just says, step by step. Yeah. Just knowing someone sees you, that you're not entirely alone, can make all the difference.
It really can. Now, speaking of keeping going, sometimes just wanting the outcome isn't enough fuel, especially when it gets really hard. This leads to discovering your why.
The purpose piece, the reason behind it all.
If you don't have a strong why, when things get uncomfortable or frustrating, quitting just seems logical, easy.
But if the reason is deep enough,
it pulls you through.
Yeah.
The source calls it a compass. In a storm, when you're lost, your why keeps you pointed in the right direction. Steve Magness says, a strong sense of purpose fuels resilience.
it's practical, not just philosophical.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you ask yourself, what really matters here? Who am I becoming by doing this? What impact connects to this struggle? It's about meaning, not just the goal itself.
Like a ship needs a destination, especially in rough seas.
Good analogy. Otherwise, you just drift. Your why is the destination.
Okay, so you have your why, you have support, you're being kind to yourself, but you still mess up. What then?
Then comes the reframe. Failure is feedback. We're so conditioned to fear failure, see it as, like, the end, a judgment.
Yeah, totally. Failure feels final sometimes.
But what if it's just information? Like a baby learning to walk, they fall constantly.
Constantly. They don't lie there thinking walking's not for me.
Right, they just
But-
process the feedback. Okay, leaning that way didn't work. They adjust, try again. That's the mindset. Magness says view mistakes as data. Don't say I am a failure. Say this attempt didn't work. What's the data telling me?
The Edison quote comes to mind. Found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Exactly. It's just fear into curiosity. You're just collecting clues for what does work.
Okay, so these inner tools are powerful. Self-compassion is fuel, support systems as allies, your why is your compass, and failure is feedback. Makes sense.
Yeah, they form a strong inner core.
All right, let's move into the final part. The source talks about deeper, maybe quieter tools, the real bedrock stuff.
That's right. These might not sound as exciting, maybe, but they're fundamental for lasting growth through difficulty.
And the first is self-awareness, knowing yourself to grow yourself.
It's about listening to your inner world. You ever feel just suddenly overwhelmed or react way bigger than the situation seems to warrant?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's your inner world talking. Self-awareness is tuning into that. Your thoughts, feelings, reactions, limits, triggers. Magness emphasizes you have to understand this internal landscape to handle external challenges well.
There was that example of the young professional, afraid to speak up.
Right, held back in meetings. Through reflection, they realized it wasn't about the current meeting, but this old fear of judgment from way back.
Yeah.
Understanding that gaining that self-awareness was the key to starting to change it.
It's like driving in fog versus clear weather.
Great analogy. Awareness clears the fog. And you build it through things like journaling, pausing before reacting, asking why. Like, what belief is under this feeling? Emotional intelligence starts right there, inside.
Okay, self-awareness, then comes patience. Oof, hard one in our fast world.
So hard. Everything screens faster, but real growth, it often works like nature. It has seasons,
Seasons like
like planting season, doing the work. Then maybe a quiet season seems like nothing's happening, but roots are growing deep. Then suddenly, visible growth.
The bamboo metaphor, I love that one.
Yeah, 5 years of building roots underground, unseen. Then whoosh, rapid growth. You might be in your rebuilding phase right now. It's not wasted time.
It just requires patience, showing up even when you don't see the results yet.
Exactly. One rep, one page, one small step at a time.
Which leads perfectly into the last main pillar: stay consistent, stay committed.
This is about persistence.
Yeah.
Grit. Especially when motivation dips or that quiet season feels endless.
When quitting seems like the most sensible option.
That's when consistency really matters. The source uses the image of climbing stairs in the dark. You can't see the top, maybe not even the next step clearly.
You just have to trust the step you're taking.
And keep taking them, one foot after the other. Eventually the light comes on, you look back, and wow, look how far you've climbed. Magness says be patient and persistent. That's how growth happens. It's the steady commitment.
Not just big, heroic bursts. And Joe Dispenza's idea connects here too.
Yeah, your personality creates your personal reality. Change one small habit. Over time, those consistent small actions reshape everything. Focus on steps, not leaps. Be present, not perfect.
And there's a bonus tool mentioned: reflection.
Yes, crucial add-on. After you go through something hard, don't just jump to the next thing. Pause. Reflect.
Ask yourself, what?
Things like, what did I actually learn here? What surprised me about myself, the situation? What might I do differently next time? Don't dwell in regret, just learn.
So reflection turns the struggle into wisdom, makes the next challenge a bit less daunting.
Exactly. It's not just about doing hard things. It's about becoming someone more capable through the process.
Okay, let's pull it all together then. The source gives us this map. First, shift how you see discomfort. Choose challenges wisely, listen to yourself, focus on the process.
Then build that inner strength. Self-compassion, support, your why, seeing failure as feedback.
And finally, cultivate those deep roots. Self-awareness, patience, consistency, and learning through reflection.
It's a holistic picture of how to grow through difficulty.
These aren't just ideas, are they? They're really invitations. Invitations from the source to live more fully, to not shy away from challenges, but to grow through them.
To transform, really. And that Denzel Washington quote feels like a powerful summary. You will never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. We often underestimate our own capacity.
So true. So maybe a final thought for you listening based on all this. What's one small intentional step you could take today? Something just a little outside your comfort zone.
Trusting the process, trusting the feedback you'll get.
And trusting that inner strength you're building step by step. You might be surprised at how strong you already are.